In this video, we examine the chilling case of Victoria Anna Elizabeth Casto. A tragedy shrouded in uncertainty, lingering doubts, and a community still waiting for closure. We'll walk through the moments leading up to her disappearance and the investigation that has produced more confusion than clarity. The story takes place in Tasmania, Australia. Born Victoria Anna Elizabeth Cafaro in Surrey, England on June 8, 1975. She spent much of her early life growing up in Italy. Although she was born in the UK, she held ties to both Britain and Italy. Those who knew Victoria described her as intelligent and eager to explore new experiences. Her sharp mind was often attributed to her father, a lawyer who hoped she might follow in his footsteps. Her mother, on the other hand, owned a travel business, possibly the source of Victoria's passion for seeing the world. Victoria had a deep love for travel, often exploring new destinations with her mother. She grew up in a well-off household, and genuinely enjoyed her life. She was close to her family, felt supported, and seemed to have a promising future ahead of her. Fluent in Italian, English, and French, she was also known for her intelligence. When she told her father she hoped to become a doctor, he was thrilled. As she got older, she enrolled in a law program in Italy, though her urge to see the world only grew stronger. Around the age of 20, she told her family one evening that she planned to head to England to stay with her grandparents. Her father wasn't pleased with her decision, but there was little he could do to stop her. Ultimately, Victoria went to England. While she was there, she started planning a trip to Australia. A cousin of hers, Venus, lived in Tasmania, an Australian island state roughly 240 kilometers south of the mainland. During this time, Victoria was in England and called her cousin Simon Howard for support. She told him she was eager to visit Australia and asked if she could stay with him during her trip. Although the two were cousins, they barely knew each other and had only met twice. Simon, however, was more than willing to have her stay with him in Tasmania. With that reassurance, Victoria prepared for the journey, packed her belongings, and set off for Australia. She arrived on October 6, 1995. After a long journey, Simon and one of his friends were waiting for her at the airport. The three of them got into the car and headed to Beaumaris, where Simon lived. At the time, Beaumaris had only a few hundred residents, most of them fishers, surfers, or retirees. The small house where Victoria stayed was a place Simon rented in the area. On their way to David's house, they stopped at Shirley's Lookout, a spot overlooking Beaumaris Beach. It was there that Victoria met three local residents, including a woman named Hilda Jackson. Hilda later said they clicked immediately. Victoria made her feel comfortable from the start and came across as a warm, gentle young woman. Hilda described her as incredibly kind, gentle, soft-spoken, intelligent, and strikingly beautiful. Many people even remarked that Victoria and Hilda shared a strong resemblance. This detail may seem insignificant now, but it would soon take on a strange, unsettling relevance. Aside from this connection, Victoria didn't really form relationships with many others in Tasmania. Not that she had the chance. Within days, she would become the victim in one of Tasmania's most troubling and baffling murder cases. She arrived on October 6th, and within a week, she would be gone. On October 9th, Victoria visited Hilda Jackson's home, and the two bonded almost instantly. She stayed for about half an hour before heading out. They discussed spending more time together soon. Not long after, Victoria attended a small private birthday gathering for a woman named Mandy. That same day, she learned that the house Simon was staying in actually belonged to Mandy. Later that evening, Victoria went for a walk around the neighborhood before returning home. The following day, she did the same thing, taking another walk to familiarize herself with the area. Then came October 11th. Victoria woke up early that morning at 8:10 a.m. She told Simon she planned to walk down to the beach and asked if she could borrow his small carry bag. They shared breakfast and chatted briefly before she headed out. She left the house at 9 a.m. and reached the beach around 10 a.m. Witnesses later reported seeing her sunbathing roughly 700 m south of the beach access gate near the Surfside Hotel. Another witness who saw Victoria heading toward the beach that day was Hilda Jackson. She spotted Victoria walking alone and planned to meet up with her later after finishing work. Hilda intended to go for a run on the beach that afternoon and hoped their paths would cross. At this point, Victoria was last seen alive. About an hour later, Hilda headed out for her run, but she started in the opposite direction from where Victoria had been sunbathing. That day, Hilda chose to run against the wind first so that the return trip would be easier. She later said she thinks about that decision every single day, believing that if she had run the other way, she might have crossed paths with Victoria, or even prevented the killer from acting. Around 1:30 p.m. that same afternoon, a woman named Margaret was out walking her dog along a well-known stretch of the beach near Freshwater Creek. Margaret, who lived nearby, regularly walked her dog along that same stretch of beach. As she made her way down the shore that day, enjoying the fresh air, she noticed something unusual in the distance near the waterline. The closer she got, the clearer it became. A young woman was lying face down in the sand, partially unclothed, with the waves slowly moving her body back and forth. The sight was lifeless and deeply unsettling. Shock and fear washed over Margaret as she tried to make sense of what she was seeing. After a moment, she turned and sprinted to the nearest house for help. She reached the home of two men who lived nearby and urgently knocked on their door. The men realized Margaret wasn't mistaken and accompanied her back to the beach to confirm what she had seen, making sure nothing was overlooked in the small town. Once they saw that it was indeed a body, the police were contacted, launching an investigation that would shock Australia. Victoria's body was quickly identified and her family, including Simon, was informed of the tragic news. It was immediately clear that she had been murdered. A large number of police officers and forensic experts arrived at the scene. During the examination, several personal items belonging to Victoria were found nearby, including a bracelet, sunglasses, a shoulder bag, sandals, a ring, and a watch. Victoria's belongings were scattered across the crime scene. Her body was discovered at the water's edge, partially unclothed. She had been stabbed 17 times with 2 of the wounds proving fatal. Additional stab marks were found on her head, face, arms, and hands, indicating defensive injuries. Detectives concluded that she had fought courageously and desperately against her attacker. During the assault, 3 of her teeth were broken, suggesting she had been struck with a heavy object. Her face had also been severely damaged, with the front slightly caved in, showing the brutal force used. The attack was prolonged and vicious. Investigators also discovered evidence of a struggle about 55 m from where her body was ultimately found. Victoria's bikini bottoms, towel, and t-shirt were missing and have never been recovered. After this, the investigation was plagued with errors. The crime scene was littered with footprints in the sand, and one was thought to possibly belong to the killer. Despite this, investigators only made a single cast of one print. Even though clearer prints were nearby, the quality of that cast was poor. Later, forensic specialists noted it was insufficient for making a definitive match, as it lacked enough detail to link it to a suspect's shoes. A well-preserved print could have revealed the type of footwear the killer wore, their walking pattern, and even their foot size. This could have been used later to match any suspect's shoes or link to people seen at the beach. Unfortunately, the cast proved useless, and no additional footprints were collected. Police moved Victoria's body and covered it with a blue top to shield it from onlookers before a proper crime scene investigation could be conducted. However, this action introduced outside items to the scene, contaminating and compromising the evidence. The area wasn't quickly secured, allowing local residents to inadvertently disturb the scene. Further mistakes followed. Crucial photos and videos were not taken, and the state forensic pathologist did not attend the site, delaying the collection and analysis of important forensic evidence. The original investigation and evidence collection were so poorly handled that the police essentially hindered their own ability to catch the killer. So, who was responsible? Who killed Victoria? After the murder, which occurred in broad daylight and stunned the small coastal town, numerous theories emerged. One suggested involvement by the Italian mafia, since Victoria's father was a lawyer in Italy who had taken legal action against the mob. However, there was no evidence to support this claim. Another theory pointed to a local killer, partly because of a prior disappearance in the area. 2 years earlier, a tourist named Nancy Grunwald, a 26-year-old German woman, had gone missing on March 12, 1993 while riding her bicycle along Tasmania's east coast. Nancy arrived in Tasmania from New Zealand on March 6, 1993. On March 9, she rented a bicycle to explore the island over the coming days. She traveled through St. Helens, staying at local hotels along the way. On the morning of March 12, she left the St. Helens hostel with plans to continue south along the Tasman Highway. Around 11 a.m. was the last confirmed sighting of Nancy. After that, she vanished without a trace. The case remains unresolved, and some speculate that her disappearance might be linked to Victoria's murder. Following Victoria's death, Simon, Hilda, and others she had met during her short stay in Tasmania were questioned by police, but they were quickly eliminated as suspects for legitimate reasons. In the neighborhood, suspicion and fear began to spread, with residents worried they might be wrongly accused or even living near the killer. Victoria's family traveled from Italy and visited the beach where their daughter had died. Her Body was eventually returned to Italy for burial. After some time and following an autopsy, a letter arrived for Victoria's parents. When they opened it at home, they discovered that Victoria had written it just days before her death. In the letter, she shared that she was enjoying her time in Australia. As the investigation continued, over 300 people were named as potential suspects. Yet, despite the murder occurring in broad daylight on a busy beach, no one witnessed or heard the attack. Just a few weeks after Victoria's murder, Martin Bryant went on to kill many people at Port Arthur. Police considered him a potential suspect in Victoria's case, but eventually ruled him out. Ultimately, investigators and the media focused on four men referred to as the fisherman, the biker, the doctor, and the surfer, believing one of them could be responsible. Victoria is believed to have been attacked around 11:30 a.m. The surfer, whose identity has never been revealed, became a person of interest after witnesses reported seeing him on the beach around the time of the murder. Police believe he may have been a man in his 20s who was surfing at the beach that morning. Witnesses described the man as being in his mid-20s, about 6 feet tall, fit, and having the appearance of a typical surfer. Around 11 a.m. on the day of the murder, he was seen running along the beach. At roughly the same time, a light-colored Subaru station wagon was spotted nearby, which police believe he may have been driving. The suspect left the area shortly after the murder. The surfer has never been identified or come forward, and despite extensive media coverage, neither he nor the car has ever been located. Next is the fisherman. Tony Kirkland, known as the fisherman, was first considered a suspect due to reports of unusual behavior in the area. In the weeks leading up to Victoria's death, Hilda Jackson had a disturbing encounter on the beach near the dunes. She met a strange man who slowly approached her and asked in a chilling manner for directions off the beach. Hilda later said that his behavior was so unsettling it left her feeling deeply uneasy. Shortly afterward, she discovered that someone had taken the underwear she had hidden in the sand while she went for a run. After finishing her run, she returned home to find that her neighbor's clothesline had been broken into and several women's garments were missing. This led her to suspect that someone was targeting women in the area. Eventually, the police identified the man as Tony Kirkland, a fisherman from a nearby town, whom they already knew for several reasons. Police were uncertain whether Tony Kirkland had intended to target Hilda Jackson that day or if he had mistaken Victoria for her, as the two women were similar in age and appearance. Witnesses later confirmed the resemblance. In 1998, just a few years after Victoria's murder, a 17-year-old girl obtained a protection order against Kirkland, claiming he had been following her and making violent threats. Kirkland's involvement in the case during the investigation was unusual. A judge later noted that he seemed to enjoy the attention of being a suspect, finding it exciting. Ultimately, he denied any connection to Victoria's death, and police do not believe he was the killer. Next is the biker identified as Gary Holmes. He was another local resident considered a potential suspect. Although he wasn't part of a criminal biker gang, he rode a motorcycle which earned him the nickname. His unusual behavior after the murder drew the attention of police. Witnesses reported that he acted strangely On the day Victoria's body was discovered, some noted that his zombie-like appearance during police questioning seemed to indicate shock or possibly guilt. He provided conflicting accounts of his activities, which led investigators to suspect he might be hiding something. What's particularly odd is that he had visible injuries on the day of the crime. Police noticed cuts and bruises on his face, arms, and other areas. He claimed the wounds were from punching a door and injuring himself after an altercation with his ex-wife. Investigators were uncertain about his involvement, but he was largely ruled out as a suspect. After a thorough investigation, the final person of interest was the doctor. Roman Hassel, a physician from the Czech Republic, lived and worked locally. At the time of Victoria's murder, he was one of the most closely scrutinized suspects. However, he denied any involvement. In October 1995, the doctor was practicing medicine in St. Helens. St. Helens is a town located not far from where Victoria was murdered. The doctor had only recently moved to Tasmania just a few weeks prior. He had recently been released from jail for threatening his second wife with a knife, and was known to have a fascination with weapons. Early in the investigation, police discovered that he could not provide a solid alibi for the morning of October 11th. Although someone claimed he was sick at home that day, no one could verify his whereabouts during the critical time frame, and he had multiple cuts on his face. Initially, he told police he had never been to the beach. But later one of his girlfriends reported that he admitted to visiting the beach that day, directly contradicting his earlier statement to the authorities in 2008. One of the doctor's ex-wives claimed that when she directly asked him if he had killed Victoria, he replied, "Maybe I did. I don't remember." Since the murder, he has never been fully eliminated as a suspect. His medical career ended in disgrace, and he was registered after being found guilty of multiple instances of malpractice. Tasmanian police have stated they remain open to receiving any new information about him. Authorities have said they would not be surprised if he were involved, but there is currently no solid evidence linking him to the crime. After this, the case went cold. Victoria's father passed away not long after her death, and they were buried side by side, a deeply tragic moment. Police continue to review the case. Occasionally, and in recent years, they have employed new technology to search for any overlooked clues. However, no one has been convicted to this day. Police have stated that they continue to monitor several individuals, and none, including the 4 previously mentioned, will be officially ruled out until the case is fully resolved. The murder had a profound effect on the local community. Hilda Jackson recalled that people used to leave their doors unlocked, trusting their neighbors. Everyone was open and familiar with one another. But suddenly, suspicion hung over the entire town. Many residents moved away, and some even ended their marriages, unwilling to continue living there, especially knowing that the killer remained at large and was likely someone from the community. A well-known and respected investigator later took on the case. The expert believes that even if police were able to identify the killer now, it is unlikely they would be successfully prosecuted. Too much critical evidence was lost during the early stages of the investigation, creating too many reasonable doubts. This suggests that the person who killed Victoria may never Face justice. According to the expert, the only way the killer might ever be caught is through a confession, which seems highly unlikely. Victoria's case remains a deeply tragic story, casting a long, somber shadow over the town. Her family has been forever affected by that horrific day, left without peace or closure. Adding to the distress is the fact that the case remains unsolved, with one chilling detail lingering. The teeth Victoria lost during the attack were never recovered. This unsettling detail raises the disturbing possibility that someone somewhere may have kept them as a twisted memento, a grim reminder of the day an innocent life was taken in a community forever shaken. If you found this case fascinating, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We post crime case videos every night. Until next time, stay sharp, stay vigilant.